Everyone's been having these struggles. What's going on? So how did the 3 untested bosses of Sepulcher of the First Ones turn out? You can post again. Yes, I can. I can, thankfully. I can post again. Alright, like I said, I got a response from Blizzard on the thing, so we'll talk about it in a second. Hey, what's up, The Cliffy Show? Yeah, so with the Race to World First now safely in the rearview mirror, it's time to look back and examine the biggest change Blizzard has made for this tier, hiding the last 3 bosses. Which we've, the last 3 are a doozy. Starting with Anduin, honestly, the last 4. I spoke with a couple BDGGs to have their impressions of the new approach by Blizzard. When Blizzard announced that their proposed schedule, the Sepulcher of the First One's raid, they introduced a twist that they had tried before in Modern WoW era. They split up the raid so that not all bosses would be available on week 1 of Heroic. This was done for an on-theme lore reason related to the cryptic nature of the patch, and served to elevate the last 3 bosses in status by separating them from the other heroic bosses. And one thing Blizzard's been doing a lot lately, this included, is they've been really pushing hard to keep stuff away from the PTR, or keep things away from data mining, right? And one thing I said about 9.2.5 that I loved a lot was the fact that these cinematics were not seen, and all these storylines were not seen prior to the patch coming out, which I love. I've been, experiencing it in game has been fun. Seeing it after the patch, it kind of kept the hype alive for the patch, right? Like the days of the patch and post-patch have been fun because we've been seeing a lot of things that we didn't know were coming, and I think that's better for the game. What bosses are we up to? We are on Ragallon. That's right, we are on Ragallon. Yep. Morning, what's up, Epics? Is this a fresh run? No, we're on Ragallon right now. Deca. We are on Ragallon. Feel free to join. Yeah, community response. So how did the community respond after seeing this? After seeing this decision, many of the community members loved the idea as a way to introduce a unique twist to the tier and spice things up. Indeed. This in turn spurred ideas that Blizzard should double down and keep these 3 bosses from being tested on the public test realm as well, as a way to additionally amplify their difficulty. Blizzard did end up leaning into this idea, and we got a Sepulcher with 3 bosses that hadn't been tested and wouldn't be seen until the week of Mythic. The impact of the Staggered release, due to being a novel feature of the tier, there were unforeseen consequences of the decision. Of course, not seeing it tested in the realm, you're not getting it tested, so you're not necessarily going to figure out all the kinks and the tuning, right? These bosses came in and they fucking hit hard. I mean, they bitch slapped everyone. We're not the only ones getting bitch slapped, and mind you, this is post nerfs. A lot of people have been bitch slapped by these last 3 bosses. Sam's, try to watch the Liquid Heroic Strat video. Think it will help adjust for positioning. Tidewell, can you link it? We'll watch it before we pull today. Link it to me in chat, and I'll watch it with everybody else here. What boss we at, Sam? Ragallon. He's been bitch slapping us. Yeah, 1 second. Alright, cool. Okay, even more importantly, it meant that there was 1 fewer reset to accumulate these slots of enabled trading on lower difficulties. Due to the nature of the cascading loot trading, this lost reset meant characters who want to keep a 4 set on the first week of Mythic were required to loot 1 tier of items off the Lords and Ragallon. Right. It did. It made the whole thing harder. Obviously, not pre-testing this stuff did make things harder, and not knowing the fights. They had no way of knowing what was going to happen. But it also creates that excitement, and kind of adds to the realism of raiding. Right? You're coming in, you don't know what the fucking boss is going to do. You don't know how you're about to get bitch slapped. You don't know anything. You're just coming in there blind, and that adds to the epicness and the scariness of the boss. Nice, thank you, Tidewell. We're gonna check this out. Oh, it's not even that long. It's only 7 minutes. Yeah, we're gonna check this out before we pull today for sure. Okay. Where the hell did it go? Oh, it's a separate. Did I open it in a separate window? I think I did. Yeah, it just adds to, you know, like I was saying, the epicness of the boss, right? You're going in there blind. Finally, one of the large effects of delaying these 3 bosses is that by the time they went public, there were bosses that already had higher item levels. With the earlier mythic bosses dropping 278 item level gear, and these 3 bosses dropping 272, it meant that the only relevant reason for doing them was to acquire tier sets. Unfortunately, this resulted in very few guilds even attempting to kill the jailer on heroic difficulty until they were deep into the tier. As a way of avoiding any wasted time on the boss that didn't have much in the way of rewards. Yeah, you know what? I do think it's weird. One thing that Blizzard did was they didn't put any of the tier set on the jailer, which made him there's less incentive to get him down. And then these guilds basically avoided doing it until they got their tier sets. So that was interesting by them. It was. Guys, if you're in the stream, let me know. There are more guilds that have killed 4 of 11 mythic bosses than have killed heroic jailer. We're going to be one of them. We're going to be one of them who've killed the heroic jailer. They should have just given the jailer more impactful weapons and items. Yes, I agree. I agree. Put some really impactful weapons and trinkets on the jailer and people will do it. Yeah. I've already killed Raglan this week. I'll stay to help. Unless you want to give this spot to someone that hasn't killed him yet. The Cliffy Show, I don't mind, man. Stick around because, we'll see how the raid fills up. The impact of hiding bosses. Put Luke Acquisition aside. Hiding these 3 bosses from the player base had another interesting effect on the raid as a whole. Preparation and planning was, at best, speculative, because any information about these 3 bosses was limited to whatever was available in the dungeon journal alone. There were very few ways to develop extensive strategies, compositions, and even weak auras to solve the problems that these bosses were guaranteed. And these bosses were guaranteed to be challenging. Yeah. Again, these last 3 bosses were a doozy and still are. Still are. I mean, look at these statistics. I'm not sure even what the hell this honestly means. But I'd assume it's like percentages of people who've either attempted or pulled these bosses. And Heroic Sepulcher of the first ones. I mean, you can see the percentages just... We're all in the 50s here, and then there's a dramatic drop at Anduin. Right? Everything's around 50%, 60s here. And then the drop-off is really at Anduin. And that's what we experienced in the raid, right? We've cleared up to Halandris many times. Many times. And I think by our second week of attempting the raid, we were downing everything up through Halandris. Anduin had been the clear stopping point for us as a pug raid and for many guilds as well. And that's where the hardcore stepping. We stopped at Anduin, right? We were over 100 pulls on Anduin before we got him. Then we were 88 pulls deep on Lords of Dread before we got them, and now we're in the 80s on Raglan. So it's very much lockstep on these last 4 bosses. And these statistics, prove that. They prove that we're not idiots. They prove that we're just part of, what everyone else has gone through. You guys know how I feel about this. We gotta fast forward a little bit here. So it's been interesting. And I just wanted to show you guys this article from Wowhead because I thought it was timely, and it kind of showed the fact that these struggles we're going through are normal. These are normal growing pains. Yes, Skip, exactly. Yeah, they're normal growing pains that we're all going through, and we all need to just be patient. Keep our heads down and keep pushing, because when we do finally unlock that AOTC together, it is going to be that much more epic, because this raid has indeed been harder. It's harder than Castle Nathria. It's harder than Sanctum of Domination. It's harder than a lot of raid content we've ever seen in World of Warcraft. But is that going to stop Pug Raid Central? Hell no, it's not. Hell no, it's not. Revendreth music, dog shit. Yeah, we are not going to stop. We are not going to stop. We are going to get these bosses down, and we're going to start that today with Ragallon. Ragallon's going down today, no doubt. So going forward, finally closing out this article, this was a very interesting and worthwhile experiment, especially in the context of the modern era of WoW and the competitiveness of the Race to World First. What about the competitive Race to World First Pug Raid Central? This being the case, the biggest question becomes, will Blizzard continue this trend going forward, or will they return to the old status quo of launching heroic bosses on Heroic Week, as well as putting all bosses on the public test realm? Maybe there's a middle ground of introducing this feature as a feature for specific tiers and introducing little side extras. Breaded Buffalo, thank you for the follow and welcome to our Scourge. I think this will continue going forward, personally. I think Blizzard thought this was successful. I think they felt like it extended the raid tier, made things interesting. I think they keep it this way.
We have a realm to destroy.
Deca iGamer, thank you for the follow and welcome to our Scourge. Thank you, thank you. In the case of this tier specifically, they learned in this direction a lot of lore-related reasons, but perhaps there's a feature that maintains more secrecy with regards to future raids. For a long time, there have been many calls for the community to increase the difficulty of WoW raids by no longer allowing guilds to test these bosses on the test realm, as a crackdown of weak auras are allowed to be Yep, I totally agree with all this. Perhaps with rising interest in the competitive raiding scene, these are avenues that Blizzard will explore in the future. I definitely think there will be they will continue to do this with Heroic. They'll release it in phases. They're going to allow less testing on these bosses. We're going to see more live in-game reveals of things rather than, data mining, testing, PTR, all that other shit. I definitely think that's what it is. And I got about an hour and a half before meeting. I can help out. Sounds good. Harder. If you experiencing a Ragallon fight for more than 4 hours, please contact your doctor. Yeah. Oh, we experienced it for longer than 4 hours, that's for sure. Long and hard. Welcome, guys. Yes, get those 2 weak auras that were just linked in chat. They are very good for this fight. Most definitely.